second felony offender. You're currently serving a 35-year sentence. You were sentenced, let's see, June of 1995 for carrying a firearm on school property. You received a 5-year sentence, replaced with probation. That was revoked in 1998. You were sentenced in January 1999, attempted first-degree murder. You received a 30-year sentence. So those are running consecutively. So you're currently serving a 35-year sentence. Your parole eligibility date was February 15, 2023. You have a good time date, November 3rd, 2026. Full-term date is November 11, 2031. Does all that information sound correct to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's talk about, I want to talk about your conduct record first, because what struck me immediately when I looked at your master prison record is I see it's a loss of good time of 1,341 days of good time. It's like, that sound right to you?
Yeah, it's about right. I got into a lot of stuff at first. I mean, when I first got arrested, they sent me to Angola. I was stressed out real bad, and I was distracted. I got into a lot of stuff. I can't deny that. What I do want to say, even through that time, I did some good stuff too. I was writing books and learning how to draw, doing a lot of studying, and I was trying to get myself together even through the times when I was getting in a lot of trouble.
Okay, so let's talk about, how old are you, sir?
I'm 44.
And how long have you been in jail?
Since I was 19.
How many years?
How many years? 24 years and 9 months.
So, how long have you been at David Wade?
Like 18 months, I think. Got here March 1st of last year.
Write-up said you had since you've been there.
Oh, I don't have any.
Good. When was your last write-up?
Well, the last one was at Angola in 2020. I think it was a Rule 5. They was actually in a good spot where I wanted to be at, and they tried to transfer me to another area of the prison, and I refused to transfer a couple of times. I was in a good spot that me and one of the assistant wardens had agreed on, and he ended up retiring, and somebody else wanted to move me, and I never found out who it was to talk to him about it.
So how many write-ups did you get in 2020?
I don't even know, maybe 4, 5.
I think it's, well, 7
7.
or 8. And we see that there are 5 of those were aggravated disobedience.
Right, those were the ones for the transfer. They kept trying to transfer me, and I kept refusing it. I was trying to figure out who it was that was trying to transfer me so I could try and explain to them why I preferred to be in the working cell blocks where I was. And that was what I agreed.
Why did you prefer to be working cell block?
Oh, because when I was there, I could do the job that I wanted to do, tier walker.
So you were in the working cell block as the tier walker?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and then I go through your conduct record and I see multiple number 21s, which is concerning. But I do note that the last one was in 2018. You have throughout the whole conduct history, multiple aggravating. Seems like you have a hard time following rules or following orders.
Well, at one time I did. I mean, I grew up in a real small town. So when I got to Angola, I was alone. I was by myself all the time. I never knew what to do. I didn't know what to do about different things with my case. I didn't know what to do about staying in contact with my family. And I was influenced by the atmosphere, the things that was going on around me. Picked up on a lot of bad habits. Since then, though, I did work with the mental health staff a lot. And I came to a point where I don't even have to be on the mental health list anymore.
So you were receiving mental health services?
Yes, ma'am.
You were seeing a mental health professional on a regular basis?
Yes, ma'am.
You're taking mental health medication?
Not now, I have, but I mean, I done progressed a lot and became a lot more sociable, and I'm doing pretty good by now.
That's good to hear. So I was going to ask you, I made a note, I do note that your write-up stopped in 2020, and my note says why? What changed for you?
Well, for one, even those last write-ups I got, it wasn't the same as before when I was just getting in a lot of trouble. Like I said, I talked to one warden, and me and him agreed about this housing area, but when he retired, somebody else tried to move me. So I was really just trying to figure out who it was so I could get to that understanding with them. And that's when I got those write-ups. Now, once I got moved to David Wade, this is a different prison, completely different atmosphere. I mean, it's like night and day compared to Angola. So up here, it's easier to stay away from the distractions. There's not so much going on. So I've been able to get 3 certificates, and I've been still working on my personal stuff. I'm actually publishing a book right now, and I'm working on some other stuff. I got plans to start my own business and stuff like that. So I've been studying, and it's a lot easier right here. So really, I think that if I'd have came here from the beginning, I wouldn't have any write-ups.
So tell me what certificates you were able to get.
Well, I got the victims awareness, I got the living in balance, and I got the cagey rage. I got those 3. Right now I'm currently completing the re-entry. I'm still in that one, and I'm signed up for Wiley College. I'm waiting for that to start. On my own, I got right here, I got one of my copyrights. I got more copyrights than this for some of the books that I did, music I've written, cartoon characters that I created myself. And I mean, I'm just constantly busy on stuff like that, even when I'm not in one of the classes at the prison office.
Did you have a job before you came to prison? When you
Yes, I did.
What was it?
I was a scaffold builder at a company called McDermott, a shipyard in Amelia, Louisiana.
So you learned your creative talent since being in prison?
Probably, I started in school. When I was in school, I used to draw and stuff like that a little bit, but I went real hard since I've been in prison. A lot of time when it's the only thing I had to do, only thing I ever wanted to do.
So tell us about what happened. You mentioned you took victim awareness, but tell us what happened with the commission of this crime.
Okay, in the class, what we learned is a lot about taking responsibility for our actions and being able to consider what's going to be the turnout or the outcome of the things we do. Now, with my charge, and it's a very difficult case. I fired a weapon, people were hit, and I'm so sorry. I don't even know how the words for it. But even when I tried to express that, I was never able to reach the victims and talk to them myself. I don't know if they ever accepted my apology, but I didn't mean to shoot them. And I always wanted to tell them that. I still want to make sure they understand that. And because I mean, they're not in any danger from me at all. They never was. I mean, it was an accident where like, I got a friend who had a gun and he was young, he was reckless. He'd get drunk and he started playing with the gun. He'd point it at you, pull the trigger and laugh. I done seen him put it in his own mouth and pull the trigger and laugh. Okay, so even before this night, there's been times when I'll take the gun from him. I'll take it and I'll keep it until we get him home. We get him home, I give it back to him. Man, go put that up. And when he go in the house, we leave him.
Now, let me ask you this. What happened at the alternative school?
Oh, my first adult conviction. It was a slightly similar situation, but that time I was the one being immature. But trust me, I learned from that experience there. That's why I didn't like to see my friend playing with a gun like he did. The first charge I had, me and another guy, we comparing our pistols. I had a 380, he had a 25, and one of them bigger than the other. So we talking about that. And had this girl out there, she was a little bit younger than me. And she said her dad's gun was bigger than both of them. So that time there, I was just playing and I pointed my gun at her and I said, your dad's gun not out here. And her little cousin just took off and went home without saying anything and told everybody that I tried to shoot her, which I didn't try to shoot her. But he went and told them that, so they called the police and the police came looking for me. They found me, I still had the gun on me. But
tell me why, as a juvenile, you were placed in secure custody. Why was that?
At what age was this?
When you were,
Is that when I was on probation?
No, it's when you're like at Swanson or Jefferson or somewhere like that.
I never went
Ridge
to.
City.
I never went to a juvenile facility. I've been on probation as a juvenile, but I never went to a juvenile facility.
okay, why were you on probation?
Once, me and some of my friends, one of my cousins, we broke into a school building and we went and just vandalized the building, wrote some stuff, cuss words on the chalkboard, and went in the cafeteria and had a food fight.
Okay, I understand. All right, I'm concerned about you. I'm gonna just sit back. Mr. Jackson, any questions? Yes, Mr. Barrow. I will tell you that I am concerned about your write-up 2020. And they were all on different dates, so they didn't stem from a single incident. And so that's concerning for me because 5 of them were for aggravated disobedience. And so if you can't submit to the authority of the prison staff, and I question how well you'll submit to authority if you are released. When did you actually start taking any kind of programming to, as you say, better yourself? Because I'm looking at your programming and it seems like most of them have started fairly recently, like in 2020. Is that correct?
You mean the program, the classes that I took started in 2020?
The ones that are listed on your master prison record.
When did
They
you start? It may not have been 2020, but it was that she's asking, when did you start those classes?
Oh, I just
20, 21,
22, and just this year. I mean, these
Okay.
certificates, I just completed these.
Talk too much, you need to listen. If you only started programming in 2022, what were you doing for the other 22 years that you were incarcerated?
Okay, I'll go back to one of my copyrights. I got a copyright that should be in.
Sir, I want to hear about your copyright. I'm trying to find out why in 22 years you didn't start taking any kind of DOC programming to deal with whatever your issues were.
I was working on stuff, a lot of things of my own, a lot. I was working on a lot of things.
Well, see, but you made the choice to do that. Rather than working on things that would be of value to you, you're working on copyright, which won't help you adjust to being released into society. When Mrs. Renata asked you about what happened in these cases, you kind of, fluffed over it. You pointed a gun at a group of kids on a church's parking lot. You fired a gun in the direction of those kids. 2 of them were shot. That is not an accident. That is a deliberate act on your part. You talk about accepting responsibility, but I'm not hearing any real acceptance of responsibility. You pointed a gun at those kids and you pulled the trigger. Now, I recognize that you yourself were young, but you haven't explained to us why you would do that. What was going on that would cause you to shoot at these kids?
Okay, I can tell you everything exactly from the time I left my house.
I want the short version. I want to know why you did it.
I didn't mean to. I really didn't mean to. Now, when I give you,
Did you mean to pull the trigger?
okay, I didn't want to give my friend the gun back while it was loaded.
I asked you that. I asked you, did you mean to pull the trigger?
I didn't mean to hit anybody. I did mean to pull the trigger.
Pull the trigger.
There's a difference though. I mean, I didn't mean to hit anybody.
If you point a gun in the direction of people and pull the trigger, what do you expect?
I didn't point it in anybody's direction as far as what I meant to do was fire the gun into the ground.
Mr. Barrow,
Yes, ma'am.
that's fine. That's your story and you want to stick with it. That's fine. But I don't want to hear speeches from you about how you're accepting responsibility because you most definitely are not.
Well, can I ask you a question?
No, sir, you not.
Can
That's all I have. All right, thank you. Warden Goodwin, can you offer information?
Well, Mr. Knox, I met, Frederick Barrow when he came to Wade back in, March of, 2021. He, like I said, he's been here since that time. And he, he came here with a pretty bad record, but he and I talked the first night he was here on this class, and he told me he wasn't gonna be any problems with this institution, that he had, he just needed a change of scenery from where he was previously at LSP. And as you can tell, he's a very intelligent man. He's very capable, and he's done everything that he's told me that he's going to do since he's been here. He's remained right up free this entire time. He's progressed to the. He started out in preventative segregation. He progressed to the cell block without any problems. He's been in general population for a while now, and as soon as he got to general population, he applied for and started participating in programming. I know the crime he committed is very serious, but he's very capable. He's a very capable, young, intelligent young man. He's working on getting some of his good time back. As you can see, he's almost 2 years without a write-up. And he's got an out date of 2026, which will probably move up because I don't anticipate him getting any write-ups, and I do anticipate him receiving some of his good time back. He's done nothing but good things since he's been at this institution. He's a very outgoing individual, very easy to talk to, and I can't say anything but good things about him since March of 2021. He's a man of his word, and he's serious and very capable.
Thank you, sir. That's good to hear. I guess you did need to change the scenery.
And those write-ups, those aggravated disobedience write-ups it was over a period of time, but they were all about moving to Falcon 4. For whatever reason, he didn't want to move to Falcon 4. And he did get multiple write-ups about transferring from wherever he was living at that time to this other dormitory. Or other housing unit. That's what those write-ups was relative to. It wasn't one incident. It was over a period of time, but it was all about the same thing. He did not want to move to the Falcon unit for whatever reason.
Thank you, Warden Goodwin. That's helpful. We'll hear from the folks who want to speak on Mr. Barrow's behalf. First, we have his brother, Mr. Cook.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm Frederick's brother, younger brother, 32 years old. Do you just want me to just speak, or do you have specific questions for me?
Just want you to speak.
Okay. Well, just to give you a little background about me, I am a disabled military veteran. I did 8 years in U.S. Air Force Special Operations, where I deployed 4 times, twice to Iraq, twice to Afghanistan. I've since then gotten out and I've become a truck driver. And just to speak on his behalf, I know there's nothing that I can say that, could make right the wrong that Frederick did when he was a younger man. But I do believe that myself, along with his friends and my cousin Chad, all have the wherewithal to help him integrate into modern society and become a productive member as well. Everything I can do to assist him with that transition, I'm willing to do. My brother went to prison when I was in single digit ages. You know what I mean? So it would be nice, for him to finally be able to come home. He has a niece now as well that he still hasn't been able to meet. And, you know, it would just be nice for him to be able to come home.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Eric Joseph. You're on mute. Muted.
Oh, I apologize. My name is Eric Joseph. I'm 43 years old. I've been a friend of Fred, probably would say since kindergarten. We've been friends. He kind of just, I guess with his situation, kind of, young, coming from where we come, he kind of just maybe just took a wrong turn. At that young age in his life, some people get lucky to not have those, things happen and, choices that you make. But I got in trouble when I was younger. I didn't not the extent of what he done, but I got in a little trouble when I was younger, changed my life. I actually own a successful janitorial business now. Been doing this for 17 years. I got in trouble when I was 21. I actually did a little time in prison, like 2 years for drugs, nothing major. But after that, I changed my life. So prison did help me change my life. So I've been out of prison since 2005, opened me up a janitorial business in 2007. Man, I've been doing that ever since, man. Just clean a lot of places, clean schools, medical buildings, changed my life. So I'm hoping Fred can get out and I can give him an opportunity to, see that you can change your life and do the right thing and be successful, even though you might have shortcomings at a, younger age. I just hope that, he can come on, I can help him and show that you can do the right thing and, be successful.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
All right.
Could we hear from Evan Gibson, please?
How you doing?
Great. Morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, sir.
Not actually supposed to know what I'm doing here, but that's one of my friends, Fred. Like I said, just hoping that he can get out, man, and show him the right way. I was one of those who was involved in that and changed my life around. So I mean, I'll be here with support to help him out. I think he learned from his lesson. He never tried to deny it from day one. So I mean, that should go a long way and play a part in it. But like I said, I'm here for support, man. Anything that he needs, I'm here. I'm out here to show him the right way and just keep him on the right path, man. He has support, a bunch of support from us, a bunch of friends that over the years we've grown. We hold each other accountable. So I mean, just a good support system is definitely what he needs.
Well, that's good to hear, sir. Mr. Frederick, is there anything you'd like to say to us?
Well, I would like for y'all to consider the efforts that I have been making to make sure that once I'm released, that I will be able to be successful, take care of myself, take care of my family, catch up with my family, my friends, and stay out of trouble, because I never wanted to be in trouble. I mean, even though I done did things that got myself in trouble, I would have always preferred to stay out of trouble. And I think by now I know how to stay out of trouble. So I want to ask that y'all please consider that and grant me parole today. You won't be disappointed.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
I appreciate this chance.
Well, I am encouraged, Mr. Barrow, by reviewing the record recently, since you've been at David Wade. I really appreciate the input by Warden Goodwin and the positive things that he said about you. And I believe that you have turned the corner. I'm glad to hear you say, now you know how to stay out of trouble. That's encouraging to me. I think you still have a little more work to do. As he said, you're working on restoring some of your good time. That's going to move your release date forward. But I think you could take advantage of some program opportunities that are available to you there. You hadn't had time to do that, so.
Do you have the
My
certificate right here?
vote is going to be to deny your parole based on the opposition that's been expressed by the victims, by opposition that's been expressed by law enforcement, and your history of poor conduct in the past. If you have the opportunity to do so, I'm not sure that you will. You may get out before you're eligible to reapply, but if you can, reapply when you're eligible to do so. That's my vote. Mrs. Jackson.
Mr. Barrow, I'm glad you're at Wade. Maybe that was the best thing to happen to you, that you got transferred there. You have started turning around. That's encouraging to see. You have completed some programming, but you haven't completed the 100 hours of pre-release. Is that correct?
Oh, is that reentry? I'm currently taking that course right now.
Oh, enrolled in, but you haven't had the opportunity to complete it yet. For the same reasons as Mrs. Renata, I just think you need some more programming. I think you need some more time under your belt where you follow the rules and you've been right up front. And according to the warden, he believes that you can do that. So I hope that you won't disappoint him, but more importantly, you not disappoint yourself, people who came today to support you. So continue on the path that you're on. Complete reentry, remain right of free, and apply again when you're eligible. My vote today would be to do that.
Mrs. Wise.
Yes, sir. I saw on the record where your mother died in 2019, father died in 2018. My condolences to you for that. I know that that's hard. I wanted, very rarely do we see 3 men show up to support somebody. But that's awesome. You got a good motivation to get out because you have people who are going to be walking side by side with you who know you better than anybody else would know because they are me. I think that's great. And I do want to state for the record that the victims went through a lot medically by what you did. One of the victims could not walk for 3 years. I think it's important that you know that and really own what you did and you changed their lives for a long time. And they're finally coming back. And not even to mention the medical expense, the dollar it costs for the medical. I think it's important that you know that. But my vote is the same for the same reasons as already been stated on the record. Best wishes to you, sir.
All right, Mr. Barrow. Today you've been denied parole, but stay the course. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We'll go over the transcripts to find out what happened in that parking lot because he seemed to be in complete denial. I love when we get a Miss Jackson mic drop. He's like, "Can I ask you a question?" No. I mean, she was done with him. I wish, that we could have a Miss Jackson TV show. It would rival Judge Judy. I would pick Miss Jackson every day. Man, I thought it was just a bad hearing. What a bad hearing. I mean, even the way it ended, he just like stormed out. And then to think that his good time date is in 2 years. November 3rd, 2026 is his good time date. And how many things came up in this hearing where, I mean, and the way that he goes about talking about it, the one situation where he's saying, well, he has a buddy that would point his weapon at wherever, he wanted. And that made him nervous. So he was so he took his buddy's weapon and that's the only reason he had it. And the story about I have a 25 and he had a a 22, and then the girl came and said, my daddy has a bigger gun than you, and then I pointed it at her, and it's like, this guy is just, I get that. It's like, how are these kids even have these guns and doing this stuff? It's pretty scary. But so let's find out what happened in the church. And then there's a couple other things Richard shared. He sued the prisons. He had a civil lawsuit, which is probably never a good idea, in 2019, which was just 3 years before the time of this hearing we just watched. And maybe that's why he was transferred. But maybe we can touch on why he sued them. It was quite a bizarre thing to do. Okay. Shortly before midnight on January 7, 1998, the defendant and several companions were riding around Morgan City, Louisiana in a white Lincoln driven by Waxter. Waxter had picked up Barrow and Gibson early in the evening, and the defendant subsequently joined the group when the others encountered him walking along a road. The group drove around for a while, drinking and smoking the devil's lettuce, before deciding to drive back to Morgan City. Now, Barrow was seated in the front passenger seat with Gibson and the defendant in the back seat. The group looked for a party they heard was being held that evening. So they're looking for a party. While looking for the party, the group encountered a large crowd of young men milling about. A cousin of Gibson approached the Lincoln and said that there was going to be a fight between the rival gangs from the towns of Patterson and Morgan, which apparently stemmed from an earlier argument at a party. When a large number of young men jumped into a blue pickup truck and drove off, Waxter decided to follow them in order to see what was going on. Waxter followed the blue pickup truck to a parking lot of Churchfield's Fried Chicken restaurant, then parked to await the anticipated fight. When the fight started between the occupants of the blue truck and other individuals in the parking lot, the defendant and his companions stayed in the car and watched. Although several Gibson's cousins were involved in the fight, none of the members of the defendant's group got out of the white Lincoln. The evidence indicates that at some point Barrow asked defendant for a weapon, which defendant had in his possession that evening. Defendant handed the revolver to Barrow. There is conflicting testimony as to whether the exchange occurred when the defendant's group first encountered the crowd of young men, or the group was in the parking lot. While the group was in the parking lot of the church. So I do want to say that reading this does add a little bit more context. The way that I heard, I imagined it when Miss Jackson brought it up, as in you shot, kids in a church parking lot. I really envisioned during the day they're at the church parking lot coming back from church, and he does. And this is a different story. This looks like more of a gang rivalry fight that just happened to take place in a church parking lot after midnight. So, it is different, right? In any event, after the fight broke up, a number of young men jumped back into the blue truck, which left the parking lot, with Waxter following closely behind. At this point, using the weapon he had obtained from the defendant, and fired 5 shots out of the car's window. 2 people in the parking lot were struck by bullets and sustained serious injuries requiring multiple surgeries. Candace was shot in the arm as she walked through the parking lot towards the church entrance. Well, maybe, I don't know, I'm confused, but okay, I don't know, okay. I was confused because I'm like, why would the church be open? But the church entrance doesn't mean it's open, so let's read on. And Nathan was shot in his left foot. Both victims had attended the party where the earlier trouble had occurred. Neither victim was involved in the parking lot fight. Idiot, right? He shoots 2 people who are not even involved in the fight. It's just crazy. At trial, Barrow testified that he asked the defendant for the weapon because the defendant was loaded and had taken the gun out of his jacket. Barrow indicated he was concerned that the defendant might start playing with the gun and shoot it. He said he fired the gun so that it would be empty when he returned it to the defendant. He told the same thing to Miss Jackson today. That's crazy. What a bad interview. I mean, the same thing he said at trial, which is the most ridiculous. Oh, my friend's loaded. I took it from him and just shot it to save everyone. And all these years later, he's saying the same thing. It is scary to think that he will be out in just a couple years, and maybe he actually believes his own version of events, which is just absolutely ridiculous, of course. Can you imagine? I shot the gun so he wouldn't have it. I mean, you could have just ejected the shells and put them in your pocket. Okay. When Waxter heard the gunshots, he quickly exited the parking lot and took off. He claimed he did not realize Burrow had fired the shots until they were on their way home. According to Waxter, they did not report the shooting because they did not think anyone was injured. During the ride home, the defendant asked Burrow to return his weapon. The police never recovered the weapon. Yeah. So for some reason, he decided to make the weapon disappear, even though they did nothing wrong. The defendant did not testify at trial. However, he gave a videotape statement which was introduced into evidence. The defendant admitted he was with Burrow and another male whose name he did not know in a white vehicle in Morgan City. However, he denied knowledge of a weapon fight or a shooting. As a result of the incident, the defendant and Burrow were each charged in separate proceedings with 2 counts of attempted first-degree homicide. Burrow pled guilty as charged in both counts. The defendant was found guilty in the present proceeding of 1 count and attempted first-degree homicide. Do we have the defendant's parole hearing? No, I just searched. We don't have it. And I should have trusted Richard. Richard put the case file for his co-defendant in here, linked it, and he would have included the hearing in the spreadsheet. One day I'll show you the spreadsheet he built for me. It's incredible. It's what really whenever I see the research that Richard does, it's not just that he's Googling stuff or finding things. He has this detailed spreadsheet that has thousands of rows on multiple tabs that are linking everything together, which makes it really easy for me to tell the story, to link it up. If I did this alone, it wouldn't be possible for me to spit out the amount of uploads I do on this regular basis. It would just take too much time. So I don't know. I don't think it would be possible for me to do this at this level without him. So big thanks to Richard. He tries to get an appeal. It doesn't work out. And, that's pretty much it. Now, if we want to go to his civil suits while we're at it, it's quite interesting because I think my takeaway from these civil suits, not that he's having the civil lawsuit, but it's like just how he doesn't seem ready for I guess going to society. We find out here that he's basically been in lockdown, it seems, for like forever in this one-man cell. And I don't know why they didn't bring that up, and if they did, maybe I missed it. But here it is. With regards to moving the complaint as amended, the plaintiff alleges that for 20 years he has chosen to remain in a one-man cell, which, I mean, frankly, if I'm in prison, I want to be in a one-man cell too. But I think that this is a lockdown cell, like a punish type cell, not a beginning in 2009, 40 additional beds were added to the dormitories. In 2012, the extended lockdown cells in Jaguar unit were converted to 2-man cells. Plaintiff was transferred to another unit and refused to return in 2014, 2015, and again in 2017. Each time the plaintiff was sent on to administrative segregation at Camp J. On December 12, 2012, the plaintiff was moved from Camp J to Camp C, and he was told to prepare to go to the Jaguar unit. It's what an interesting name, Jaguar unit. The plaintiff contacted a social worker in order to be put on standard unalive watch and avoid being transferred to the Jaguar unit. These actions were repeated in December 15, 2017, December 26, 2017, January 3rd, 2018, February 1st, 2018. It just seems that he's just didn't want to go, so he's doing all these ways of protesting. And then the plaintiff was sprayed with a chemical agent after he refused to be double bunked in his cell in an administrative segregation. They're like, no, you're getting double bunked. And he's like, no. So they did the chemical agent, and he was forced to bunk with another inmate. At some point prior to being sprayed, the plaintiff spoke to the defendant Smith, who declined defendant Ream's suggestion to spray the plaintiff with a chemical agent and assured the plaintiff that he would be seen by a social worker when arrived at Camp C. The plaintiff asserted the defendant was legally responsible for the overall operation of the penitentiary, and the defendant Smith, the assistant warden CBB, the plaintiff asserts being forced to double bunk in administrative segregation unconstitutional. It's like, good luck with that, man. You're in prison. Being forced to have a bunk made is unconstitutional. That's funny. The United States court indicated there is no constitutional principle for requiring a one-man cell. No kidding. So, it just gives you more insight into like who he is, and it just doesn't bode well for him, in my opinion. And also, it's probably never a good idea to civilly sue a warden. Gosh, that's like the last thing I think someone would want to do when they're back in a whole lot of time. And they dismissed the plaintiff. Of course, the lawsuit referred back to the magistrate judge for further proceedings. In the recommendation, the magistrate judge that the defendant's motion for judgment of the proceeding be granted, dismissing the plaintiff's claims against the defendant with prejudice. It's further recommended that this matter be referred back to the magistrate judge for further proceedings. What am I missing? Man, that's something. We've seen several civil lawsuits, but one where you're just refusing to have a bunk mate, and then what are they? If you're refusing to leave, whatever. There you have it. So I don't know. Maybe he'll get one more parole hearing before his good time date, or maybe he just won't cure. But if we do get another hearing, we'll show it here. And thank you again, Richard. And with that, I'll let you